Everybody, hope you're all having a good Thursday. We're going to be talking a little showdown on this Thursday night. Good game, really good game. We got back-to-back really good Thursday night games in a row here, and we've actually had quite a few lately. And shout out to the NFL for giving us some good Thursday games. But the Commanders and Eagles, this is a good one. For what it's worth, I am leaning slightly Commanders plus the points, and I would lean over all the time if it wasn't a Thursday game. I do think the over is a little more likely than the under, but at least that's the way I'm playing it. Anyway, drop in your thoughts, what you're doing and everything. We're going to run a build. I did put some exposures out there, but not much, just to sit and make sure I had a few guys who I knew I wanted to get some portion of in the captain spot. These are the contests I'm playing tonight. I'm playing the Wildcat and 30 in the 35 in the showdown, the big one, the lottery. So this is what we're going with. I'm also going to do something I like to do that other people don't, again, the default is 45. I just like to drop it down a little bit for these showdown slates because I do think leaving a lot on the table is totally viable. And we're going to run a build and then talk through some of the plays that I like the best. I'll edit through there and see what we got. First thing I want to do is let me just make sure it's updated. Let's see when Sheets' last update was. I'm going to take a quick look, and I'm going to use Sheets' projections because shout out to Sheets. He's on fire as always. He almost won the alley-oop last night with one entry. He ended up finishing third for 20K. That was nice. But I'm gonna actually use Sheets' projections, even though they're a little bit earlier today. I don't think they're gonna be all that different. I'm just gonna double check if there's nobody that we're missing here. Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, it seems about right to me. All right. Anyway, so I'm gonna import Sheets' projections and we'll go from there. Let's see. We'll go to Sheets just like that. If you're a TrueDFS member, it's that easy. It was a crazy day in NBA yesterday, TJ. Like, what a ridiculous day when you get like an alley-oop. I think I had like 370 something points or something like that, and you couldn't still cash whatever it was just outside the cash line. Sheets had like 440 or 450 because of the overtime game at the end. But man, you needed to. It's not the NBA days of old. It's just absolutely crazy. But shout out to Sheets for getting it done. Even with all that, and he had the 0.8% owned Tari Eason in his main build, and Tari Eason put up 50. So shout out to Sheets. He did a really good job by him. So we're gonna do this, and we're gonna try and see where these builds take us. It's gonna, we'll just run a rebuild real quick, and then we're gonna use the contest sims and just see what we come up with, and then talk about a little bit about what we like and what we don't like. A couple of names that I'm going to throw out while it's running real quick. I really like Noah Brown as a potential captain opt-in. He's a little bit cheaper. He's been getting enough work. The Eagles, the way to beat them is usually through the air. They're tough to run on. So I'm interested in the Noah Brown. Obviously, McLaurin is the more logical, but he's going to have some more ownership. And then, we just have this. I'm telling you, Zacchaeus has won me multiple showdowns in the past. So I'm considering him as a play a cheapo and get everybody in mode kind of a thing. So TJ is asking who's the safer captain, Hurts or Barkley. I would never, ever try to build a showdown lineup and try to think who's safer. Never has occurred to me once. I would never play a cash game in a showdown lineup. I just don't. But if you had to ask who's safer, I think that the answer is probably Jalen Hurts, just because he gets all the work inside the two. And we haven't really seen Barkley get much of it so far this year. So yeah, this is what we're trying. So in single entry, we'll talk a little bit about that. This is for the lottery and for the 333. So we'll see what we get when we run this real quick, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Eagles says he loves AJ Brown as captain. That's AJ Brown's ownership at captain. Actually, it looks like it's a little lower than it was. I don't exactly know why it's quite as high as it is or as high as it was. So I'm actually open to it at sub 10%. I think that makes a lot of sense. I like the idea of getting a little more creative and maybe going with some Devontae Smith. I think you're going to get a lot of AJ Brown in your sims. And I do feel like this could be a good passing night. So I like both quarterbacks, plan to have both quarterbacks in most of my lineups, not necessarily in the captain. But I also think it's okay to fade these three captains as, with their ownership. Hurts would probably be the safest to me. It looks like Barkley at the moment looks like it's the most popular. I like the idea of getting a little bit more creative with it, just because I think you're going to run into a lot of similar builds with those. So let's run that. Let's see what we got. So they're giving us all the Barkley at the first run, but we didn't run the contest sim yet. So let's run the contest sims and see what we get here. Robinson is back, so that's something to keep in mind. Is not the Otto Eckler play. Not that McNichols wasn't getting some work as well. And he actually had a pretty decent amount of work last week. Robinson, I have Eckler and Robinson very close. I think Robinson's probably the better raw points play most of the time, but I think Eckler has a better chance to destroy the slate. I like both of them less than the field. So you can see as I say that, SaberSim is giving me all of the Brian Robinson. I'm okay with having a little bit of it. I don't want to go too crazy. I'm going to end up lowering this number. And you can see they're trying to get creative because we're trying to find ways to get different on this slate. And I don't mind going with a couple percentages. Let's do this just to get a little bit of Robinson and Eckler. But I don't think I want them as my main captains personally. I think I would like to go a little more wide receiver heavy from Washington. And again, AJ Brown, who was mentioned already. But I also like Devontae Smith a little bit tonight, and I think that I want to be at least with the field on him. So let me make sure I'm getting just at least near the field on him. I don't mind Gainwell. He's another one of those you can pay down and jam them all in. Remember, there was a showdown slate that was won with Josh Gordon as a captain who had zero fantasy points, and Josh Gordon would cost 200 that day. But it was the only way you could get all of the other 5 performers in. So he actually won $1 million for somebody with a 0. Just to throw that out there. BBF is saying after last night, he hopes the Clippers missed the playoff by 1 game. That was weird, right? And by the way, people could say whatever they want to do, whatever they want about Ty Lue. I still maintain that Ty Lue is one of the best coaches in the NBA, but I don't know what the hell he was doing, pulling all of his players with, what was there? Still 5 minutes to go, 8 minutes to go? It was a lot of time left, and it didn't make any sense to me why he pulled all those guys. But yeah, I agree with Bambo Fiesta. Like it is a rough business playing the running backs against the Eagles. So that's going to be a little bit less of where I go. Again, I want a little bit of it, but let's apply this and just see if anything changed much. And then let's start running some variation on the min uniques, seeing if we can't get a little bit different without me having to just cap Brian Robinson and Eckler. There we go. This looks a little bit more like something that I could talk myself into. I like the idea of having Devontae Smith because I actually think the ownership will be even lower on him than is being projected. I don't mind the idea. Again, I'd like to get a little bit less Robinson. I'm just going to cap Robinson and Eckler at 10, and I don't think that even I'm going to end up with nearly 10 of them, but I just want to make sure that they get out of my main builds because I don't think they're going to win this slate for me. That's just my take. Again, you are welcome to think whatever you want, but that's what it is. Yeah, Harden not playing in the fourth quarter. That's so weird. And it was like a gettable game, and it was him back in Houston, and he was balling out. Not really sure what happened there, to be honest with you. This is much more along the lines of what I was thinking for tonight, except for, again, getting all that Robinson. And Robinson is probably a little bit too low owned, but I just don't love that spot against the Eagles. So let's cap it at 5. We'll make sure just to get a little bit of them, and let's see what we can come up with that gets a little different. Yeah. Devontae, Saquon, Jaden. Okay. Again, I'd like to be overweight McLaurin. I mean, if I put it at 7, it's going to end up making me overweight. I'm going to be a little bit overweight. I want to be well overweight Noah Brown. So let's make Noah Brown. Let's take a little bit of a stand on this one tonight. I think this is an interesting play, and I want to make sure I have at least 1 or 2 Zacchaeuses. Yeah, they've got 1 right now, and I think that's totally fine. Kickers have been good on Thursday games for what it's worth. They've been good at Showdown actually all year. And I don't mind getting to either of the kickers as well, but I'm looking at it as wide receivers from both sides. I do like Barkley as a play. He'll be my flex more, but I'm going to try to keep this ownership on him in the captain just below 10 because I don't want to be playing the massive chalk on when I'm playing, 1/5 as many entries as the max, and I've got my one shot in the 333. Yeah, Eckler is the one I think that I would lean towards a little bit more as well, but I don't have a really strong feeling of wanting to play either of those guys. I'm much more along the lines of wanting something like this, like my 4 main captains being, all sub 10% except for Daniels, who's I'm okay with being at the field with. Also, he could be the running back too. That's the other thing is that Eckler and Robinson, it might be Jaden Daniels. Barkley, it might end up just being Jalen Hurts who runs it in. I also do like the Gainwell play a little bit, and I want to make sure I have him at least 1 lineup right here. And then I'm just going to take a look in the flex and see what it's doing over here. Jaden and Jalen, I have put 50 of each of them. I would like to they're going to be they should be in most of your builds, especially Jalen. So I'm going to do this because Jalen, it's really hard for him not to put up numbers just with the way they play, and especially with what they do near the goal line. So I'm just seeing if anything adjusts. I would like to cap this at around 35, and I would like to cap. Let's see where Eckler is. Make sure we get. Yeah, see, I think Eckler is getting a little too overlooked, in the flex. So I'd actually like to be above the flagship, but I don't want to go crazy with it. So I'm going to put it between 11 and 30 just for now. It's not going to get to 30, but I'll adjust it if it does. And let's see what we do, and then let's rebuild with what we've done. Again, I want to focus more on the wide receivers here. So let's make sure, and then we'll make sure we're getting at least 5% of AJ Brown. I mentioned the Zacchaeus as a contrarian captain option. Luke McCaffrey is somebody I like in the flex more than I do as a captain, obviously. But I definitely want to be at least with the field on him, and I'm going to put that in right here. Let's go to 16, and let's see what this gives us. All right, and we're going to rebuild in just a second here. If the Eagles' defense is going to be heavily owned, I'm happy just to fade the defense. You're saying it's going to be owned. TJ, what are you basing that on? Because you sometimes you pop in here with these comments, but I'm not sure where it's coming from. Let's see what the Eagles are actually projected to be owned. 17%. That's not very heavy at all for anything on a slate. So I don't find the defense something I'm trying to get to, but I'm certainly not avoid it because of ownership. That's for sure. They're getting not that much ownership. And Washington is not going to have much ownership. Let me just this. Commanders, they're not going to have much ownership at all. Again, I don't have a strong take on playing the defenses tonight. I do feel more like it's an offensive game, but all it takes is one play, and you get a couple sacks, and both quarterbacks being able to run means the sack opportunity is probably a little bit higher. Ertz as a captain is a good question. I think Ertz is a reasonable captain. I've got him right now. Let's see what they give us on the new runs, and I want to make sure I get at least some of that. Goddard's another one. Just putting these there, and I'm gonna probably rebuild this before we actually, get going and everything. But I'm gonna just take a quick look. Got Ertz at 5. He's got actually some decent ownership of the captain. I like that Ertz play though. I'm with it. You get the little revenge narrative against the Eagles. Why not? Hey, I'm good with the Ertz. Let's go at least with the field on the Ertz, and then let's run the contest sim and see where we're at. Let's go like this. Let's see what we got going after we run with those little bit of changes. Anyway, guys, drop in any more thoughts. I love that everybody's in here and active. That's great to see. Eckler is still viable. Yes, Eckler can get 5 catches, but yeah, it's just he is pricey. That's what's going to keep the ownership low. That's why I wanted to play him in the flex. I'm probably going to end up with like one Eckler captain, but I do like the idea of him in the flex. And we are running the sim. Okay, we're good. And let's see what our exposure looks like now. This feels better to me. I just want to be overweight some of these lower owned plays. And I feel like this is a good way to get a little bit different while still not getting way off the board. I don't like this 8%, this whatever Eckler. Let's cap this we just want 1 to 3% of Eckler. We just want one lineup with Eckler. It's just a just in case thing. He can catch 10 balls. That's the reason. It's totally possible. We've seen that before. I'm not doing an NBA Showdown slate. No, I'm not. I'll do this for the playoffs. I'm not going to do them this time of year. There's Rody. What's up to Rody? Rody, curious who you like tonight. This is sort of where I'm looking at exposure-wise, and it's a little spread out, but I think it's a reasonable game to be a little bit spread out at captain. I don't think you need to play at the chalk, and I like this what I'm getting here. This being a little bit overweight these low-owned guys, and especially Noah Brown, who I'm sort of making my mark on. I had this ridiculous thing where I had a dream a couple years ago where Noah Brown won me all this money on a Cowboys slate, and he had a huge game, and I didn't play him for some reason. So I'm still waiting for my Noah Brown money back. I know that's real scientific sports analysis, but that's where I'm at anyway. But you sort of see what we went through what Saberson was trying to give you. We went through a little bit of what I wanted to do, and this feels pretty good to me in terms of my captain ownership. Now let's go over to the flex. We have to have a ton of both Hurts and Daniels, especially Hurts in my opinion. And then, after that, I'm okay with getting some of the running back exposure. I don't love that it's so much Brian Robinson, but it's not enough to where it's making, maybe it's enough just to make me go down to 30. Because I don't love the run. I just don't love playing the running backs against the Eagles. We see it all the time. These guys just do not give it up to the run. So just trying to get a little bit lower on that. Again, Noah Brown popping off here. AJ Brown. And I want to get some Zacchaeus here too as well. I'm telling you, Zacchaeus for whatever reason, this guy always wins the showdown slates. I'm just going to get over the field and go 15%. And I'm going to end up leaving a lot of the money on the table in a lot of my lineups because I am forcing a lot of stuff in. And as I remember, I showed you guys, I'm going 42,000 as a minimum instead of 45. Just trying to get a little bit different. We're going to rebuild with 5,000 sims, and we're going to try this one more time and see what we end up with both in the flex and at the captain spot. Dotson in every lineup. Okay, go ahead. You go ahead and put a couple $1,000s down, Antoine, and put Dotson in every lineup. I'm not going to be the one who does that. I'm going to carry. I don't mind getting to a tiny bit of them. You could say, hey, Dotson and Ertz revenge. You get the double revenge narrative. I don't see Dotson as being especially has there been a time this year where he's put up like 5 fantasy points? I don't think he did when everybody was out. Even then, he still wasn't really getting there. No, I'm trying to get away, Cam. I'm trying to get away from Hurts at captain with Saquon. No, I don't want to play the chalk as captain. If you're playing 150, you can afford to eat more of that captain chalk. Even then, I would encourage you not to. I just think it's a mistake in football. So I'm trying to get away from the chalk. If they beat me, they beat me. That's just what it is. Yeah, it won't be contrarian at all. And Hurts is not at all different than Saquon. These guys are going to end up almost the same ownership. I don't care what the projections say. It's going to be very close between Ertz and Saquon, in my opinion. All right, we're building. What's happening? And now we're running a little bit of extra sims and seeing what it does, and then we'll run the contest sim, and we'll get out of here at some point. But pop in any questions or thoughts of guys you like better. I do think Dotson's an interesting contrarian play in the flex, but I don't think there's anybody out there playing 150 lineups with Dotson. Look, talk yourself into it. Maybe give it a shot. I'll just put a 2 so I can get one lineup with him at least. But I'm not going to go crazy with a play like Dotson. All right, let's see what we got. Yeah, and the thing is that we get this all the time. People come in and go, oh, I love this person as this. I'm like, okay, cool. It'd be like last night saying, oh, I love Giannis tonight. People aren't going to play him because he busted the night before. I'm like, yeah, people are going to play him. He's only 70% owned instead of 80% owned, but he was still appropriately owned. It was kind of insane thinking to fade Giannis last night. I really did not understand where people were coming from. At the same time, Wemby was a terrific play, and you literally couldn't have won a tournament if you played him. So it was a very weird slate. Dotson captain, I'd be open to some things. I just don't understand why we're playing a guy who doesn't get any targets. He's had 1-1-0-1 over the last 3 games. I don't really know what that is. Delon Wright was, you can complain about Delon Wright, and only because of the nature of the slate. Usually you put up 24 fantasy points, 23. You can't complain about that for 3,800 usually. Just last night you could because of the slate. Like I said, Sheets finished 3rd in the 555 with 1 entry. He should have won it. He almost, I can't say should have. He almost won it. Should have at least finished 2nd. If what's his name could make a free throw, he would have finished 2nd. Ron Holland. But that was too bad. So that was the part that went good for me, was the fact that Sheets won it. It was just a crazy slate where if you would have told me my average lineups were at like 360 to 370, maybe even higher, that I was going to lose money. In basketball, you're talking about, that means you realize with 8 players, you had to average like 50 from each of them. That's so crazy, man. That just doesn't happen that often. This has been a crazy, crazy year for basketball. Anyway, I'm running this one more time. You guys have seen some of the changes that I've made. So we're going to, it's going to take it a little bit longer because of all those changes. And I don't really think there's any news to wait on, right? I haven't seen anything that seems newsworthy that we're waiting on. I don't think there really is. That's weird to say, knock on whatever, because you never know if you get a weird guy twisting his ankle before the game or something. I guess that's the only way that it could happen. All right, let's see what we got. It's going. And making sure, let's see, who else? We want a ton of Saquon in the flex as well. Let's get Saquon at least with the field. It's also interesting to see, again, teams usually on Thursday night games, like this game is better than everything before it. Everything this weekend. We would be targeting this game for DFS. And I was thinking if I was playing it for DFS, obviously I'd have both quarterbacks in my pool. But I would be big on the McLaurin and the Brown and Devontae for the regular stuff. And I think I would even include Noah Brown into it. I have a good feeling about Noah Brown tonight. We'll see. Thanks, Cam. Appreciate the kind words, man. Always nice to hear from you. Always say nice things, and we appreciate it. All right. So running this. Sorry we didn't have Sheets. We will have Brandon Cruz here for the next couple showdowns this next week. Just he couldn't make it today, so that's too bad. We'd love to get Brandon Cruz's thoughts on these things. He's really got a good mind for showdown slates and stuff in general. Sheets as well, obviously, but we don't have Sheets today either. I do appreciate all you guys tuning in. If you don't mind clicking the like button while you're here, we do appreciate that. But you're seeing what I'm doing. I'm just taking the chalk and playing it in the flex mostly, and I'm trying to get different at captain. and find a few unique plays in the flex. That's sort of where I'm at. So we should have this ready in a minute. So let's see what we get before we run the sim, and then we'll see what we get after. So yeah, this looks a little better to me with Jalen Hurts getting 94% in there. I'm just going to be okay with if he's he's going to beat me. If he beats me, he beats me. I like the McLaurin, Noah Brown idea of being overweight them. Jaden Daniels, I have no problem playing the field. I like being a little bit overweight. Devontae, I like being right near the field on AJ Brown, a little over the field on Arts. This feels better to me to give yourself an actual chance. And I like the taking a little Zacchaeus and team jam him in type of style. So I think I'm actually okay to kind of go with that. That's what it got us. Then let's run the contest sims and see if it does anything different. I have a feeling it's not going to change as drastically as you might think it would. Usually it changes a lot, but we've already gotten ourselves some different in some ways here. And I'm going to make this number a little lower so we don't have to get more of that. I just want to be overweight by the end of it. We'll see what ends up happening. Let's run the contest sim. It's still running. And it's so easy, guys. You can just save your contest and then boom, you're already in there. Just working through SaberSim has become so much easier, I should say, through SaberSim, through TrueDFS. I would like to get more of Hertz than this, so I'm going to go a little bit higher. I really don't want too many non-Hertz lineups, personally. And then let's see what that does to our captain spot. So again, getting the guys that I want a little bit more of. Again, the guys I'm more comfortable being over the field on. I actually think this Goddard play is a little interesting. Goddard and Ertz, I like both a lot tonight. So I think that's an interesting way to go. You can see I'm a little more spread out than maybe you're supposed to be. You should be. If I was playing 150, I think I'd probably be doing a similar thing, to be honest with you. It's pretty similar. So any other questions or thoughts? I'm probably going to get out of here shortly. I got some family plans. I'm going to finish my builds, but this is pretty similar to where I'm going to be at. So for those of you guys who are site members, or site members or not, this is essentially where I'm going. I do like both kickers, and I feel like we're only getting love for the kick. Yeah, I think we could use a little bit more of Jake Elliott here tonight. They don't, again, it's always harder with the Eagles. Maybe let's put 10% on them just to make sure we get a little bit more. And again, these are just different ways to differentiate your builds. And remember, I did use Sheets as projections, so I'm getting slightly different builds than maybe some of the other people are. And I would encourage anybody who has the ability through SaberSim, anybody who's a TrueDFS member, to really use Sheets projections and Goldie's projections on slates like this. It's a good way of getting different while using the same process that will differentiate you from other SaberSim users and other users in general, because they're just completely two unique random sets of projections that other people aren't accounting for. All right. With that said, we appreciate all the love and everybody being in here. I'm going to say I'm probably going to get out of here if there's no more questions or thoughts. I'm thinking about doing what Antoine's telling me to do and throwing one in just for fun's sake, just for funsies. I don't like that term, but so it puts him in one lineup. Okay, maybe we can play one lineup with Jahan Dotson. Not gonna go completely crazy. I can forfeit $20, and if I'm right, I'm sorry, if it gets there, I don't know how it gets there, but I'm open to it. Another interesting one for the flex is a cheapo. Did they drop his price enough? Calcaterra, yeah, they did. He's another one I wouldn't mind having at least 10% of. So I'm just going to edit that, apply, and essentially you see where I'm at in my builds. In terms of actually some of the super cheapos, the ultra thin value, I'm not getting to any of the Ben Sinnott. Sure, 200, but I think that I could just play McCaffrey at 1,200. I think I could just play Calcaterra at 1K instead. And like I said, I don't mind leaving money on the table, especially on these Thursday night slates. And while I don't like running backs, sort of one of the things me and Rody used to do a lot of was double running back, double tight end type builds. A lot of I do like the double tight end builds here a little bit, the Calcaterra and the Goddard, or the I don't think I can quite go with the Ertz and Sinnott tonight. But you could go Barkley and Gainwell. That's another one I wanted to make sure I had enough exposure to, and we don't right now. So we want to get a little bit more. I want to have some Gainwell for sure. I actually have him as captain in the lineup or two. I don't want to just phase him out. I actually think there's a chance he has a decent game here. He plays a lot in certain situations, and if the script is flipped, he might be the one getting the usage, not the other way around. We've seen him in a lot of third downs, third and passing situations. Yeah, they're going to play Barkley some, but they're definitely going to play some Gainwell. So I do believe I have one lineup with Gainwell and the captain. Anyway, guys, appreciate all you guys very much. Click the like on your way out of here. I'll see you guys in Discord if you have any other extra questions, and let's make some money tonight.